Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top story, after 4 years, some concerns regarding the 2012 elections are being brought back. This was after the Office of the Attorney General responded to a request from the St. Croix Board for exoneration on alleged wrongdoings during the 2012 elections. But the AG's investigation did not quite go their way. News 2's April Knight has more.
The 2012 elections are coming back to haunt the Board of Elections. St. Croix Board Chairman Liliana Belardo de O'Neill asked Attorney General Claude Walker to review documents and exonerate the St. Croix Board from any wrongdoing in that year's elections. But on Monday, the AG sent a letter to de O'Neill saying he cannot issue any report, putting the St. Croix Board in the clear, even though his investigation turned out discrepancies with the St. Thomas St. John races. According to the AG, more than 4,000 votes were not included in the official certification from the St. Thomas St. John district in the 2012 elections. 2,965 in the Board of Elections race, 499 in the Delegate to Congress race, and 672 votes in the Board of Education race. The Attorney General's letter to de O'Neill is seen as a vindication for those who've always insisted that the 2012 elections were a sham, and in spite of assurances that the digging for facts isn't over, some of them are not quite sold.
I'm vindicated in the light that he's actually putting it on paper and expressing it publicly. We had made every effort to bring forth the wrongdoing.
Diane McGrath said she's not satisfied that the federal government has not been brought into the discussion, considering the missing votes for a federal race.
There's no federal entities that have been CC'd this letter. In light of a federal office being on both the 2014 and the 2012 election.
The AG stated that his office is not closing the investigation into the 2012 elections. McGrath, however, said experience has taught her not to hold out much hope.
No. With my experiences in the last few years, I just see him probably gonna just give them a pat on the back of their wrist in the end.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Diane McGrath, who is currently a board member after winning in the 2014 elections, ran for the same position unsuccessfully in the 2012 elections. In other news, on Wednesday morning, Department of Health inspectors revisited the Ricardo Richards Elementary School for a health and safety assessment. On Monday morning, after receiving calls from school officials, a health inspector observed evidence of sewage odor in the cafeteria area, which was vacant and had been cleaned at the time. On Wednesday, the department assessed the school's progress on meeting and maintaining Department of Health mandates. Upon inspection, the department stated that the sewage issue had been rectified and the area had been cleaned. The kitchen area was also re-inspected for proper facilitation and health standards for serving the students and safe working conditions for employees. The Department of Health authorized the use of the cafeteria for serving the students as of Wednesday, March 9th. BOC Director Rick Mulgrave answered some questions during Governor Mapp's press conference on Tuesday. The press conference was called to inform the public of the transfer of more than 100 Golden Grove prisoners to federal facilities. As we reported, Director Mulgrave stated there are several benefits to moving the prisoners off island and explained how they picked and chose which ones stayed behind.
First of all, it reduces the amount of officers necessary to supervise them. It also frees up it lowers our costs. That's another reason. And there's a lot of construction that's going to be going on at this time, so safety and security is a primary reason. Generally speaking, what we kept are workers, people that work for the facility, that do work around the facility, that can help us to make the improvements that are necessary.
Military servicemen may find it hard to find employment sometimes, and employers who do hire them face certain challenges. But one organization is committed to making sure both sides of the transaction get the best of that partnership. And this week, its national chairman paid a visit to the territory. News 2's April Knight has more.
It's Paul Mock's first time in the Virgin Islands, but he hasn't been to a single beach. His mission here, take care of members of the National Guard and Reserve who are in the local workforce and those who employ them.
We have a network of 4,600 volunteers across the country and into the territories, and they're all great Americans that are out there trying to do the right thing for our National Guard, Reserve members, and veterans, and military families as well.
Employers of Guard and Reserve members face the reality that at any time their servicemen employees can be called out to duty, and that they need to do so without fear of repercussions in the workplace. While this can seem like a disadvantage for employers, Mock says the qualities of National Guard servicemen more than compensate for it.
They're disciplined. One comment I hear from employers is that somebody with military experience or currently serving in the Guard and Reserve, they show up to work on time, they show up every day. They understand what work ethic is, they understand what teamwork is.
According to Mock, a few years ago, unemployment rates were high among servicemen returning from the global war on terror, but the numbers have drastically improved since then.
Last year we had about 136 employees who signed a statement of support in support of the Guard and Reserve.
The employers, therefore, are given recognition whenever possible. This year, 3 employers from the Virgin Islands are among the 130-plus semi-finalists for the Freedom Award, besting thousands of other employers across the nation.
The Home Depot store, 8622 on St. Croix, the Department of Health, and Comprehensive Security Concept, Inc. on St. Thomas. And we are hoping this year that we could get someone in that final category, will be in the finalists, and eventually become a Freedom Award recipient.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award is the highest recognition given by the U.S. government to employers for their support of their employees who serve in the Guard and Reserve. Well, effective immediately, the San Juan Regional VA office has decided to suspend outreach services that are usually held monthly on the island of St. John. Residents of St. John will still be able to access services held on the island of St. Thomas. Representatives from the regional office have been traveling to St. John for at least 6 to 7 months, but sometimes only meeting with 1 or 2 veterans. There have been no times when no veterans show up. Director Patrick Farrell says it is reasons like this why the VI Office of Veterans Affairs continue to encourage veterans to use VA services available to them. Once services are lost, they are harder to be restored, not forgetting the fact that annual budgets are influenced by the use of services. The Department of Health and the CDC continue to closely monitor the Zika numbers in the territory. The Virgin Islands Department of Health confirmed 1 additional case of Zika on St. Croix, bringing the total to 7 cases. No new cases of dengue were reported this week. The CDC has recommended that all pregnant women showing no symptoms but residing in areas with ongoing Zika virus transmission be tested at the beginning of prenatal care, with follow-up testing in the mid to second trimester. To date, the Department of Health has tested 278 asymptomatic pregnant women for Zika and has received 52 negative results. Turn attention overseas. The Democratic presidential candidates faced each other in Miami Wednesday night. Senator Bernie Sanders is fresh from a surprise victory in Michigan, where he squeaked out a win over Hillary Clinton in defiance of the polls. But Clinton's commanding lead in the delegate count means Sanders' work is far from done. Kim Hutchison has more.
Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders called for comprehensive immigration reform and a path to citizenship in their opening statements at the Univision debate Wednesday, but both faced tough questions from moderators. Clinton was asked about her loss in Michigan.
I won one of the contests and lost another close one. This is a marathon, and it's a marathon that can only be carried out by the kind of inclusive campaign that I'm running.
Sanders was questioned about Clinton's commanding delegate lead.
You know, when we began this campaign, I was 3% in the polls. We have come a long way in 10 months.
Clinton discussed her emails.
It wasn't the best choice. I made a mistake. It was not prohibited. What we've got here is a case of overclassification.
Both refused to call Donald Trump a racist when asked directly, but both criticized the Republican frontrunner soundly.
I was the first one to call him out. I called him out when he was calling Mexicans rapists, when he was engaging in rhetoric that I found deeply offensive. I said, basta.
The American people are never going to elect a president who insults Mexicans.
The candidates also answered a series of in-depth questions about their support for various pieces of immigration-related legislation, and both disavowed the deportation of children. We'll know what voters thought next Tuesday when they go to the polls in the delegate-rich states of Ohio, Missouri, Illinois, and Florida. I'm Kim Hutcherson reporting.
Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the New York Stock Exchange with our Stock Market Watch. And according to the numbers there, everything down. The Dow down 5, NASDAQ 12, S&P 500 also down. Coming up on News 2, we continue our VI History Month awareness. Here's your quiz. Who was the first elected governor of the United States Virgin Islands? A St. Croix highway is named in his honor. Answer coming up. Welcome back. Sirens will be individually activated for a brief period during evaluation. The American Signal Corp, which is a company that manufactured the territory's tsunami warning sirens, will evaluate and make adjustments to each of the VI's 22 sirens ahead of the March 17th tsunami response exercise we reported about. ASC technicians will evaluate the sirens individually in the St. Thomas St. John district from Friday, March 11th to Sunday, March 13th, and in the St. Croix district from Monday, March 14th to Wednesday, March 16th. As part of the evaluation, the technicians will broadcast a live voice message as well as a pre-recorded test message. ACS is addressing concerns such as difficulty understanding the pre-recorded messages, and some have suggested that the audio may not be loud enough. All of that will be addressed. The chairman of the governing board of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority, Attorney Gerald Groner, said Wednesday that the services of Dowdy Recruiting, LLC, have been retained as the board commences its search for the next executive director of the territory's public utility. The board's retention of Dowdy Recruiting follows its decision not to renew the employment contract of Hugo Hodge Jr. and in a subsequent action terminated Hodge's employment without cause on January 29, 2016. Groner said the job will be posted in the Virgin Islands, and any Virgin Islander who expresses an interest will be directed to Dowdy Recruiting, a leader in recruiting for the utilities industry. Since January 29, 2016, WAPA's Chief Financial Officer, Julio Reimer Sr., has served as both interim executive director and CFO. Meanwhile, WAPA would like to advise mariners and the general public that beginning Friday, March 11th, the Orion Marine Group, Orion, will be performing inshore work necessary to accommodate shipments of propane in the general vicinity of the WAPA Crown Bay fuel dock. This work will include the installation of new mooring and breasting dolphins and installation of new marine loading arm. Both work scopes combined are expected to be completed by April 30th, 2016. United States Department of Tourism's Commissioner Beverly Nicholson Doty connected with more than 100 journalists, editors, travel agents, meeting planners, airline officials, and Virgin Islanders during a successful marketing mission to New York, Minneapolis, and Atlanta last week as the department increased visibility and bolstered sales to the territory. They say in New York, the visit included a series of appointments and culminated with a filled to capacity reception in Manhattan, where she updated attendees about the offerings and new developments in the territory. Commissioner Nicholson Doty kicked off the mission in New York by conducting one-on-one interviews with journalists representing national, consumer travel, lifestyle, and multicultural outlets. Well, when the COSTA DELIZIOSA called on St. Thomas on Thursday today, it was the first time a Costa Cruises ship called on the territory in almost 15 years. Costa Cruises is an Italian cruise line headquartered in Genoa, Italy. Customs regulations implemented by the federal government within the past 15 years made entering any American port challenging for non-U.S. passengers and crew. As a result, many ships suspended calls to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Costa DELIZIOSA's call today signals the resumption of a valuable relationship between Costa Cruises and St. Thomas as the line begins its gradual re-entry into the market, and that's from Joseph Bushelti, the president and CEO of the West Indian Company. Bushelti added that discussions with European-based lines are a part of the company's plan to increase the number of cruise ships calling on the territory. Luminosa-class ships weigh approximately 92,700 gross tons. The ship's unique features include 4 restaurants. It accommodates 2,828 passengers and 1,100 crew. We heard from Severino Palomba, the captain of the Costa DELIZIOSA, with Joyce Storr-Griffin, assistant director of tourism, during a plaque ceremony held on board.
That you fly this flag, you fly proudly, knowing that we welcome you into our shores, into the Virgin Islands.
I will promise that before ship sailing, the flag is already up. No doubt. It's my pleasure. First of all, I'm so happy to stay here in St. Thomas after many years. Personally, I didn't come here since 16 years, and I can see that a big change, a big improvement for sure. I'm very happy to stay here, especially in this, on the long side of this pier, where the passenger can reach straight away the downtown of the city, and there is a beautiful marina. You can see that I saw that my passenger, but also my crew are so happy to stay here.
Also, in other news, newly installed members of the Arthur A. Richards Junior High School Interact Club spent Saturday, February 27th, cleaning up Fredericksted's popular Dorsch Beach as part of the group's annual community service and Charter Day celebration luncheon. Only the day before, Friday, February 26th, the 23 budding Rotarians, comprised of 5 officers and 18 members, interactors, were installed as charter members of the Interact Club, which is supported and sponsored by the Rotary Club of St. Croix West. Janelle Bryan, president of the Rotary Club of St. Croix West, installed the club's officers, and Rupert W. Ross, Jr. remarks to the students as the Rotary Club of St. Croix West advisor to the Interact Club. The Coral Bay Community Council, in collaboration with local, federal, and industry partners, here's another cleanup. They removed about a dozen derelict vessels and other marine debris in St. John's Coral Bay, and the bulk of the work was completed in January, while final cleanup efforts are expected to finalize in March. In 2014, the Coral Bay Community Council received a grant of $90,000 from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Marine Debris Removal Program and committed to match it with $48,800 in volunteer and in-kind services and donations. The purpose was to remove as many abandoned, sunken, and derelict vessels in Coral Bay Harbor as possible. The total effort was valued as $138,800. Well, time for our VI history, and here's a little history lesson for you, or refresher, as we continue to recognize some outstanding Virgin Islanders who made history during the month. Melvin Herbert Evans was the first elected governor of the United States Virgin Islands. His term ran from 1969 to 1975. This statesman was born in Christiansted, St. Croix. He was the Virgin Islands Health Commissioner before serving as governor, and eventually moved on toward becoming a delegate to the House of Representatives. Evans was appointed United States Ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago until his death. The Melvin Evans Highway in St. Croix was named in his honor. The VI lottery drawing was held earlier today. Grab your pen and paper to see if you are the winner of first prize $175,000, second prize $65,000, third prize $40,000, or fourth prize $30,000. Are you the winner? Here are the numbers.
The VI Lottery presents draw results of today's drawing on NEWS2. Here are the top prizes. Fifth prize for $20,000, 29284, 29284. Fourth prize for $30,000, 08314, 08314. Third prize for $40,000, 13612, 13612. Second prize for $65,000, 21909, 21909. And the winning ticket number for the grand prize of $175,000 is 07077, 07077. If your ticket number wasn't called, keep trying. One of these days, your number could win. The next drawing is March 22nd. Play the VI Lottery and imagine the possibilities.
Good luck as you check those tickets. Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.